You're listening to the Scientific Radio of the Unknown. One of the most interesting podcasts on the internet.
What is your name and what career path did you choose, and as well as what forms of social media do you have?
My name is Kyle Clarkson. Career path, I did choose law enforcement agencies. So platforms that I have are TikTok and YouTube, but we're probably going to start focusing more on YouTube and Instagram just for the pictures.
All right. So, how did you start working at Alcatraz?
All right. So a lot of it is confidential because it's a national park. It's federal property. So I work for a company that gets contracted for these national parks and stuff like that. Anything that's government related, and it's more or less a security force. You know, we're security guards, quote unquote, but we have a little more power because we're on the federal property. You know, our job is in charge of that federal property. You know, when we are on that property, we fall under the National Parks Police. So they deputize us to protect that property. So pretty much it's a contract, and that's just how that's the easiest way to put it. Because there's a lot to go into those kind of conversations, but the best way to put it is it's just a contract.
Okay.
What do you do currently on the island?
So currently on the island, I do patrols. I watch the dock, make sure people don't dock on the island unauthorized. Because to dock on Alcatraz, you do have to be an authorized vessel. You just cannot be any boat. You have to be an authorized vessel. The Coast Guard is out there. You know, they have their cutter that comes by every once in a while. National Parks Police, they're out there. You know, park rangers are out there. You know, my job primarily though is to patrol the island, make sure that there's no like fire watch, essentially, make sure the lighthouse is still working so people don't run their vessels into the island, make sure that people stay off the island, and so on and so on.
What made you decide to do content on TikTok?
All right, funny story, I was dared. So I got super bored and I texted my significant other and I was like, hey, I'm super bored. And they responded, well, you should just go on TikTok. And I was like, well, okay. I mean, I've had TikTok before and I deleted it because it never really kept me entertained. And then I was like, okay, whatever. And so uh, I uploaded, I sat there, did the whole thing and made an account and everything. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to upload a spoof. You know what I mean? So I took a picture of Alcatraz and I took a picture of me and a picture of Alcatraz. And then that one video immediately got like 5,000 likes and like 300 shares. And I was just like, oh, okay. I'm like, and someone messaged me like, hey, make another video. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's when Gary came into the picture. Gary's a seagull. He's probably one of the chillest seagulls I've ever met in my life. Now, all right, like I'm a person, if I'm by myself or if I'm just bored, I'll talk to animals to see what happens. I mean, I talk to my dog, you know what I mean? I think everybody talks to their dog though. But anyways, I cracked a joke and I was like, "Hey Gary," and immediately the seagull responded to me, and I was like, "Oh, bro, okay." So I made that video of, "Hey Gary, people are trying to sleep, don't talk back," and he went with it, which was so weird. Is if you guys saw that video, he went with it, and for the rest of the night, he didn't say a word. But every time from then on out, I said, "Hey Gary," he responded, or he'll like fly near the dock shack, or he would like fly to wherever I was in the parade deck, and I was just like, "Wow, this bird recognizes his name that I have given him." So it just went on from there. The adventures of like Team Gary, and then you had Sheila, Brad, Chad, Karen, Gary Jr. You know, uh, Drake the Pelican. We didn't really get to have adventures of Drake the Pelican, but That's probably for best because he's not the nicest pelican.
In one of your videos of TikTok, you showed heat coming off a mannequin, and then you positioned the camera, and it wasn't there anymore. Do you believe paranormal activity before then, or before work at Alcatraz?
All right, so before I worked at Alcatraz, I was kind of in the middle of paranormal activity. I tell people all the time, I'm not God. I'm not all my, all knowing. I'm not all powerful. I don't know. So I usually let things be. It is what it is. Okay. Well, the first night there, the guard training me and him were in the cell house, and he came up there with me because the only time there's because he was training me, so that's why he was there, right? You can't just throw somebody into the wolves; they won't know what's going on. He was training me, and I sat there and I told him, I was like, dude, I hear footsteps, bro. Like I hear it. It's in the catwalks. And he goes, no, man, you're tripping. I'm like, no, dude, watch, be quiet. And he got quiet, and you heard it. You heard somebody spitting their keys. You heard someone whistling, and you heard the steps on the catwalk, like synchronized steps, like a guard route. Okay. Because anybody that has ever worked in any type of law enforcement agency, being from security officer to military police to post watch, anything, knows that when you have a specific route, you become synchronized in that route. You don't miss a beat. All right. It becomes a beautiful sheet of music when you get it down. So, he sat there and he goes, whoa, what is that? And we shined a flashlight up in the third deck catwalk in the gun gallery, and there was like a shadow, and it just disappeared. And I was like, bro, I was skeptical, but now something's up. And it just kept getting weirder from there. Like things would move, things would disappear, cells would creak. You'd hear chatter in the cafeteria, but nobody's in there. And like you'd like turn the corner to walk in there. But I think the thing that's got me the most is the dungeon. If you go around 1:30 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. and you walk up there, you go to the D block. There's a dungeon exit, right? So it's not the dungeon entrance; it's an exit area. You can hear banging, like someone's stuck in there, and you can hear it loud as day. And you can see the doors kind of like shake, like when you bang on something. So like, I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And the mannequin thing, man, dude, that scared the crap out of me. Like, not gonna lie, I was not ready for that at all. I actually had to take a step back and catch myself because I was like, dude, what is this? But if you noticed, if you saw the other video before I did take them down, when I went back, it didn't do it again.
Yeah,
And I was like, bro, that's a trip, man.
So would you say that every night you're working there, you see some sort of paranormal activity that's happening?
No, actually, and that's the thing is like, it's a hit and miss. You know what I mean? Like, you can never say something. Now, I was talking to one of my other officers I work with for a different company. I was talking to her about it. I was like, hey, because like she does paranormal stuff. She's really into it. And I was like, we talk about time loop. So me and her were talking about how like on certain days at certain times something happens. It's a possibility that Alcatraz is in a time loop. There was so much that happened on Alcatraz that the spirits there got stuck in their time loop. So when people hear things, see things, or get things done, me and her were talking about how like it's a possibility that in that time loop, right? That's what that spirit did. So every year, that's what that spirit's gonna do. And he doesn't know, or she doesn't. They don't know that they're dead. You know what I mean? That's why they're doing it. So I really think it's kind of just like it's a hit and miss, man. Like last night, I heard footsteps on the parade deck, like soldiers marching. You know what I mean? That was the first time I ever heard that. So,
Wow.
So I seriously think it's a hit and miss, and great adventure. I implore everybody to go to Alcatraz. Like I think everybody should do the tour, no matter what. If you look online, you see pictures. You look online, you see videos. No, I think you yourself should go on the tour because it's an experience you can never change.
What feeling do you get when you stay the night on Alcatraz? Is it negative or positive?
You know, man, it's pretty much a positive reflection because you know that they're there. And the way I tell people is, I don't mess with them, and they don't mess with me. They know I'm there. I know they're there. You know what I mean? We've crossed paths. It's cool, you know. And what I tell people is like, it is what you make it. You know what I mean? If it, energy in the world feeds off of your energy, like a lot of people don't understand that the human does get off a lot of energy. Okay, whether it be negative or positive. And whether or not, if you believe in spirits, you don't believe in spirits, you believe in demons, angels, and stuff like that, they feed off of that. That's what they're gonna feed off of. You know what I mean? So, like personally, me, I feel that there is a depression there. Like you feel the hatred on the island, like that the prisoners had. You know what I mean? That the Native Americans had when they took over, and then got taken away. Right? You feel it, but it's a respect thing. You respect it.
So I've heard this theory that Alcatraz was a fort previously before the prison. So is there anything that kind of is still there from the time of when it was a fort?
Oh, it was a fort. During the Civil War, Alcatraz was a port protection fort. I mean, you still have the barracks. You still have the officers' lounge room in the corners. You still have the housing area for families. 100%. Now, a lot of it was burnt down in 1960, or the 1960s revolution of the Native American overtake. But again, those were random fires, according to history. So, you'll see a lot of the ruins, the parade deck. If you ever get to go look at the parade deck, you'll see a lot of burnt down buildings or hollowed out buildings, and those were the quarters. Those were the officer quarters, the enlisted quarters. This was a Union base during the Civil War. It was a munitions camp. So, there's still a lot there to see. I mean, you'll still see the cannons from when it was a fort. You'll still see the gun ports where they'd put their rifles through. You'll see the defenses that they have. So it's very interesting.
Do you think Alcatraz was a strategic place for a prison?
I actually just was talking to somebody about this earlier. One of my friends. I think Alcatraz is probably one of the most strategic posts I've ever seen. Honestly, I mean, I served 4 active years in the Marine Corps. I was out stationed in North Carolina. I'm in the middle of my inactive reserves right now. But I gotta say, man, I visited a lot of forts while I was in the Marine Corps because I love history. So I love visiting things and getting history. And I gotta say, Alcatraz is just the way they had that bottleneck set up to where to come into the bay, that island saw you. No matter which way you came, that island saw you. Was just amazing. I mean, I do not think there could have been a better strategic post for, especially a prison, a federal penitentiary. I don't think there could have been a better spot.
Do you think if there was a chance that maybe they should reopen the prison for specific prisoner use instead of keeping it as a museum, or do you think that they should keep it as a museum?
Personally, out of just pure respect for history, like we're in times right now in the United States that nobody respects history. Everybody is me, my feelings, and nobody just gets that history doesn't change. Okay, hey, when you try to change history now, all you're doing is just washing it down. You didn't change anything. You didn't turn the tide. So with this, I think out of mutual respect for the lives that were taken, the lives that were there, the service members that served during the war, I think it should remain a museum because I think people should know that this is what it was like. Because times are different now. You know what I mean? Al Capone got put in this prison for tax evasion. Okay, come on, tax evasion now? Come on. When's the last time you heard someone going to a federal penitentiary like Leavenworth or Alcatraz for tax evasion?
Right.
Okay, so back then it was a different world, man. I think there was another one that I just thought was hilarious. I thought it was kind of silly because in today's world, you wouldn't go to a federal penitentiary for that. Drug trafficking. So everybody knows that pot is still a drug. Just because it's legal doesn't mean it's not a drug. It's still a drug, right? I mean, there was a guy there that was drug trafficking, and he got like a life sentence there. And today, he would get like minimum maybe 10 days in a jail, not even a federal penitentiary, but in a jail. You know what I mean? So I think it's important that we keep that history preserved, so everybody understands that we've come so far as humanity, and it justified fire. Now, if they were to reopen it, if they were on their own, you know what I mean? I personally think that's a place for pedophiles to go, or sexual crimes, sexual hate crimes, and stuff like that. I think personally that's where I would put them.
Right.
Away from everybody with no visitation rights, but that's just me. Because it takes a sick person to commit those crimes. But again, that's my personal opinion. I'm not a doctor. You know what I mean? I'm not a therapist, not a lawyer. That's just my personal opinion on that matter.
Have you seen any of what appears to be a spirit of any like famous people who have stayed in that prison?
I have not seen any figures of a famous person. Now, I did one time hear banjo playing from like the Chow Hall area, and I was like, that's so weird. You know what I mean? Like, why is there like a banjo playing? Did some research later, and turns out Al Capone did play the banjo in the Alcatraz band, because Alcatraz did have a band for the prisoners to join if they were good. And I just thought it was a trip because I was like, hey, I mean, maybe it was him, wasn't him, I don't know, but no other prisoner was a banjo according to the records. So I mean, it could be wrong, I don't know, but I think personally that's probably the closest I've ever actually had an experience with a famous prisoner. So the whole escaping thing, man, personally, I think you had to have some major manhood to try to escape that prison at night. Just in general, actually. Because you got to think, man, there's sharks, jagged rocks, heavy currents. The water is freezing temperatures at night. Okay. And you're talking about a time era where they didn't have the heat sources we have today, the clothes we have today, the waterproof clothes or the water resistant clothes. No, they didn't have any of that. They had literally cloth. So the whole three guys escaping, personally, there's no proof that they died that I have found in my own research. Like I said, not a historian, but I just don't see the valuable proof that they died. You know what I mean? Even the other prisoners that try to swim away, they found their bodies. These three didn't. So in my personal opinion, I think it's plausible, very, very plausible, that someone did contact the FBI, because in my personal opinion, if the FBI have that on record, why would somebody randomly do that? Why would you randomly message the FBI and say you're a criminal if you didn't have some sort or type of guilt? So coming down from the history spectrum, no one's ever escaped from Alcatraz. There's no proof, nothing, you know what I mean? No one's ever escaped. From my personal opinion, I think the three made it. I really do. But like I said, there's no proof. So, history is, when it comes down to certain things like that, history is kind of like science. You got to have some type of proof. It can't be theory. So, you know what I mean? So like, and that's the other thing about like history and science. It's like history, when history and science come together, like, with the whole proof thing, history is kind of the opposite of science. Science, you can have theories. Like, I theorize that, I agree with you. I think they probably did escape, right? Plausible. But history doesn't do theories. History does proof and evidence. So for the first question of like what was going through their heads, man, I think they just wanted to get off the rock. For the second question of the whole like, do I think they made it? Do I think someone made it? I think it's plausible, completely plausible that they made it if you didn't find bodies. So that's just my input on that one.
Have you seen any shadows appear on the island while you've been there?
I saw one shadow man, and he kind of just like he doesn't really bother me. He's on his own little thing. He just goes in and out of the quarters area. I'll see him every once in a while when I'm doing a patrol or something or walking by. But like I said, I leave them alone. They leave me alone. I respect the property. Property respects me.
Which specific cells have you noticed are hotspots of any paranormal activity in the prison?
Honestly, I haven't really done individual cell searching like that. It's just the cell house in general. Just has a lot of creaking and banging and sounds of footsteps.
What other locations on the island that you've been to do you think might show an increased amount of activity?
The morgue. Dude, the morgue, man. Oh, man, I walked in the morgue to check it out. I wanted to, I walked in there, looked around, read all the things on the walls and stuff, because my first night working at Alcatraz was my first time at Alcatraz. Okay, like I've never been before. So I was kind of taking it all in, I was reading everything. Anyways, yeah, the door shut on me. Like there was no wind, nothing, and the door just shut on me, and I just kind of like, whipped my head around at it, and I looked at it, and I was like, no, no. And so, I pushed the door open, I got out, and I met up with my trainer. I was like, hey, did you shut the door on me? And he goes, bro, I wasn't even over there. I didn't even know you were over there. He's like, I thought you were at the guard shack. And I was like, oh, okay. And he goes, why? And I'm like, nothing. Just asking, just curious. So it's up to people to believe whatever they want. Me personally, I believe that, he wasn't near me. I believe that he thought I was at the guard shack because he has no reason to lie to me. You know what I mean? None at all. So I think the morgue, if it wasn't the cell house or the chow hall, the morgue definitely.
That about sums it up, I think, for the questions we have. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
I would like to add that I think, like I said earlier in the video, I implore everybody to go on these tours. Okay, this is one of those things that you're gonna want to be a part of. I mean, like I tell people all the time, I might just be a night watchman for Alcatraz, but I'm a part of the history now because forever in the records of Alcatraz, I was one of the watchmen. I was there on the island. I spent 13 hours, every night, right? I did all my shifts, and what I tell people is, you want to be a part of that history, all right? You want to be, you should be, you know what I mean? Because that's our history. That's our history as a country, through the Civil War, through the federal prison era, through the Indian native occupation. You know what I mean? I would implore everybody to do it. I would, not even just for the paranormal adventure, just for the fact to get to know your history of your state, because no other state has a penitentiary like that. We are the only state that has that in California. So like I said before, that's what I would have to add on, is definitely go on those tours. Definitely take every advantage you can to be on that island legally. Don't be sneaking on, like do it the right way and have fun with it, in my personal opinion. Respect the island and have fun with it.